She used to be so wonderful. Whatever happened to you? Anyway, Sue Ellen Browder, yet another abortion activist, who later became an anti-abortion activist, witnessed firsthand how the sexual liberation of the 60s and the 70s inserted abortion into the women's rights movement. She eloquently points out that what the media can't see is the national debate over abortion is not a war against women, but it's actually a war between women. And as any of you who have ever come into contact with a woman will know, so computer scientists, I'm sorry, Try to remember what your mother was like before she threw you out. Women might be mean and spiteful and vindictive to you, but they're even worse to each other. They are absolutely awful to each other, and nowhere is this more apparent, more obvious than the feminist movement, where they literally tear chunks out of each other all day for a living. Motherhood and child-rearing somehow became anathema to liberated women, and abortion became a prime component of so-called women's rights. Now, one of the main reasons abortion became synonymous with women's rights is the adoption of abortion, pun intended, into the political platform of the National Organization for Women. But I'd like to share a quote first from Betty Friedan, who was the president of NOW at the time. In 2001, you're like, slightly autistic, lone clapping in the middle. Everybody else is quiet because everybody else gets those subtle body language cues from me about when they're supposed to applaud, except this person is... Sorry. Computer science strikes again. I'm sorry, Pumpkin. Ideologically, says Betty Friedan, I was never for abortion. Motherhood is a value to me, and even today, abortion is not. I believe passionately in 1967, as I do today, that women should have the right of chosen motherhood. For me, the matter of choice has never been primarily the choice of abortion, but that you can choose to be a mother. That's as important as any right written into the Constitution. Now, if she said that today to a room full of third-wave feminists, you know, after the hyperventilating had stopped, she'd be censored, kicked out, and possibly beaten up. Because feminists aren't pro-choice, they're pro-abortion, and in many cases, anti-woman. And you know, I find something interesting as a sort of, well, they call me a homophobic homosexual, which I'm not sure is entirely true. I don't like many other gays, but I do really like dick. So I don't know if I think they just mean I've got the wrong opinions for a gay, but I don't get nearly the sort of crap that, let's say, Ann Coulter, or Michelle Bachmann, or the late Margaret Thatcher, or any woman who steps off ideological reservation. I have to admit, much as I would love to play the martyr, you know, tongue-in-cheek, obviously, even black conservatives don't get the sort of vitriol that's reserved for conservative women. And I think this has got something to do with what I was saying earlier about how women treat each other, the sort of viciousness and backstabbing that you sometimes see in, you know, between professional women. There's something particularly vile and terrifying about the language women reserve for each other. And this is what I mean, this abortion fight really is women-on-women violence, if you like. And if you are a woman who steps off the ideological reservation, if you're a woman who dares to extol the virtues of motherhood, if you're a woman who says, you know what, I'd quite like to stay home, quite like to have babies, quite like to raise a family, you're pathologized in today's culture. There's something wrong with you. There's something defective about you. Well, actually, half the women I know are like that. And way more than half of the men I know want a woman like that. So it's... You sound like you have experience with several of them. So if for no other reason than your desire to be happy and to make others happy, you should reconsider your position on this. Now, shout your abortion is another dark... It's another sign, I think, is another instance in which this ugliness of the way that women treat each other can sometimes come out. And it's the sort of sociopathic side of the female psyche that is always so terrifying. Now, these initiatives are not about choice. When this thing started becoming popular, I mean, I would encourage, if any of you have very, very strong constitutions, or a bottle of Ipecac, and you know, a will to die, you should look this up on Twitter and see what some of the women say about the procedures that they have had. It will shock you. It will change you. I can't get away without sharing at least one Shout Your Abortion participant who said that her vacuum aspiration made her happy. That name just tickles her. You're vacuuming out the unwanted detritus threatening your aspirations. It's like blood drawn. She said she's had more painful experiences flossing. This is what killing a baby is to these people. Just a different version of flossing. And it's that same ugly, psychopathic instinct we see in social justice warriors generally. That same heartlessness. That same empty soullessness. The grinning face of evil, while at the same time pretending to be about rights, equality, diversity, and inclusion, but behaving in a manner that is utterly vile to other human beings. Shout Your Abortion and movements like it seek to normalize abortion, but in fact it's very bad for women's health. So if you don't care about the child, or you don't care to get involved in discussions about what stage it's okay, think about the women who have it done. In 2010, the Canadian Journal of Psychiatry published a study based on a sample of 3,000 women in the United States. The findings of this, the effects on abortion, are startling. Basically, it makes women crazy and suicidal. 59% increased risks for suicidal thoughts. 61% increased risk for mood disorders. 61% increased risk for social anxiety disorders. 261% increased risk for alcohol abuse. 280% increased risk for any substance abuse. The only people, it seems, that benefit from abortion are Planned Parenthood and Budweiser. You see that Bud Light? Oh, I was so happy when sales of Bud Light went down. Went down after, what was it? Oh, God. A Super Bowl ad. As if anyone would want to be either of them. Advertising used to be aspirational. It used to be about people you wanted to be. You know, beautiful, skinny blonde girls, beautiful, jacked frat boys. Sorry. No, it used to be about aspiring to something. These days we have, I don't even know if we have a word for the opposite of aspiration. No, I don't think language has come up with it. Why would we ever need one? No, but these days, the people that we're encouraged to look up to, the people we're encouraged to find beautiful and brave, Amy Schumer, Lena Dunham, and Caitlyn Jenner. Give me a break. In fact, the only... Were you mooing or booing? I couldn't work it out. If the cause of this mental anguish were anything besides abortion, women would be marching non-stop against it. Madonna would be threatening to blow up the White House over it. Yeah, all right. Abortion is clearly so bad for women's mental health it falls second only to Islam. And maybe the fact that I'm gay. Imagine... Thank you, Pumpkin. Imagine if the parents of your favorite people in this world had decided not to have them. Now, here's a list of people. I missed off all of the best people. These are the best people who ever lived. They're all the best people who ever lived. There's Shakespeare, Wagner, if you don't know who that is, Lil Wayne, Mimi, and the God Emperor Daddy Trump. Of course, every once in a while, a celebrity comes along who makes you think abortion might not be such a bad idea. This is Perez Hilton. If only they could tell in the womb, you know. This is what they do. Carson Kressley and this prick. No wonder people don't come out. They think, oh God, you know, you're going to be gay. You're going to turn into one of those screaming queens, you know, angry about everything. Honestly, hell is other gay people. You have no idea how awful it is living as me. They're awful. They're really awful. Anyway, no, even Perez Hilton, I'm able to say selflessly, despite the fact that he just won't stop commenting on my Instagram recently, I'm able to say even Perez Hilton should have been given a fighting chance in life. Mother Nature had other ideas and made him look like that, but even he deserves a fair crack of the whip. Feminists, you know, actually, incidentally, I think that being gay, you sort of have to be pro-choice, don't you? Because if you believe in abortion, I mean, sooner or later they're going to be able to tell in the womb. I've never quite believed this born this way stuff. It seems to me 50-50. And all the science says it's 50-50. Everybody agrees it's 50-50. This born this way thing is basically marketing they invented in the 80s and the 90s. But if it is at least partially genetic, you'll be able to test for it in the womb soon. And when you can do that, you can introduce gene therapy to cure gay. Which on the face of it doesn't sound so bad. So I think if you're gay, you sort of have to be pro-life, don't you? At least if you ever want to suck off another 17-year-old. Kidding. No, I'd only do it in the Netherlands, where it's legal. No, I'm kidding. Do I look like I eat pizza? Feminists don't really handle science very well. They prefer feelings, so it's no surprise that despite mountains of evidence that abortion hurts women, and mountains of evidence that these small little people who have heartbeats and brainwaves and fingers, no surprise that their abortion argument's proven wrong time and time again, but they just don't listen, and they don't care. Let's start with the idea, as is often said by the most enthusiastic abortion advocates, that the baby's like a parasite inside the mother, attacking her body's integrity. You sometimes hear from radical feminists, they want to sort of tear it out. You know. This is what many abortion advocates actually believe, that the woman's body is occupied by some kind of hostile force. And I think what's going on is they just don't like men very much, and they feel like this is something that has been done to them by a man, and they want to get rid of it, you know, to rid themselves of the guilt and shame they feel from sex. I think it's probably a lot of what's going on. But nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, babies pass beneficial cells to the mother, and those cells can aid in the mother's healing all her life. Having a child makes a woman stronger and healthier in almost every way. A fantastic book has been written on this subject by Jenna Pincott. It's called Do Chocolate Lovers Have Sweeter Babies? The Surprising Science of Pregnancy. I can hear from the titters in the back of the hall that some of you have identified me as a chocolate lover. Despite... Thank you. Despite my best efforts and the best efforts of my boyfriend, I still remain tragically unblessed. Trying to get pregnant, still hoping. Another argument we hear all the time is that it's a woman's body and a woman's choice. Well, women, let us dispel this notion quite quickly. A baby is not your body. A baby, even at a quite early fetal stage, has her own heartbeat, her own brainwaves, her own separate DNA, distinct from yours. A different genetic code that is not the same as yours. But that baby is dependent on you, and it does rely on you for life, for at least for a while. How can you possibly argue that a baby is just a part of you? Babies inside their mother have everything besides fingerprints and social security numbers. Babies in the womb are the real undocumented Americans we should care about. Now, progressives like to insinuate that there is something sinister about big oil and big tobacco, and in rare instances, I suppose they may be right. But Planned Parenthood, or as I like to call it, big abortion, is even worse. We were all shocked when undercover tapes came out. My friend David Daleiden sent his undercover team in there, showing that they are in the business of selling baby parts to the medical industry. Can you imagine, I don't think this is a stretch, imagine what happened. Imagine the sort of person sitting in the room when they were deciding, you know, what the right moment to advise a woman to have an abortion is so they can maximize the profit on those parts. Just imagine for a second what that room was like. That's the Democrat Party. It's horrifying, and it's what feminists want more of. Planned Parenthood can attribute a good portion of their baby-killing business to their president since 2006, Cecile Richards. Richards is well on her way to personally matching Hitler's body count. So we've done the grim maths, so you don't have to. Using a conservative estimate of 300, that's the swastika by the Planned Parenthood logo, in case you know. Using a... There we go, now you got it. You see, we put a lot of care and attention into these things. Using a conservative estimate of 300,000 abortions, or, and this is one of the left's weird approaches to this subject, to try and persuade you, is to sort of butcher language. They either take it medical or take it in some way to kind of cover up what's really happening, you know, like female reproductive health. Who could argue with that? So they call abortions, well, they call abortions by the thousand kilo scrapes, using the technical metric measure. Cecile Richards has presided over 3 million abortions, or 3 mega scrapes, in her 10 years as president of the organization. This has earned her half-Holocaust status. Full Holocaust seems eminently reachable, given Planned Parenthood's growing hegemony in the abortion industry, unless Donald Trump defunds Planned Parenthood. This is just since Richards took charge. Planned Parenthood has since 1970 performed 7 million abortions, comfortably surpassing Hitler in the organization's lifetime, according to its own annual reports. You have to admire the chutzpah, if you'll forgive that terminology. If Planned Parenthood has amassed a Third Reich-style death count, legally, while pocketing $500 million to do it. But under Richards, the numbers have skyrocketed, such that in the last 10 years, at least 3 million young lives were ended. If she stays in her post another decade, she'll easily reach full Hitler. The road ahead may be rocky. Besides the undercover videos that were leaked, some media sources are starting to cover the revolting practices of these sociopathic monsters. Nice, normal people, whatever their views on abortion, have no stomach for charnel houses like these. And perhaps, as I say, President Trump will do the right thing. If you need to hear more, by the way, about, I always find it interesting to find out what the people were like who founded these organizations. Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, was unarguably and hideously racist. She spoke glowingly about a presentation she gave to a group of KKK women in New Jersey, and they loved her messaging about the black race so much that they asked her to come back. Messaging like this, which she wrote in a letter to Dr. Clarence Gamble. She said, "We do not want word to get out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. And the minister is the man who can straighten out the idea if it ever occurs to any of their more rebellious members." Notice that, like the proto-social justice warrior, the proto-progressive that she is and she considers minorities that disagree with her to be rebellious or uppity. Black Trump supporters heard these words, and much worse, during the campaign. Margaret Sanger's goal, of course, was to diminish the black race, and one can argue she was at least partially successful. Stats about abortion by race are not always easy to find, because of course they're not. But nonetheless, they paint a compelling picture about the race reality of abortion. New York City presents itself as a strong case study. In 2012, there were more black children aborted in New York City than there were black children born alive. It was 31,000 compared to 25,000. More aborted than born. Blacks accounted for 42% of the abortions in the city, while Hispanic women accounted for another 31%. That's 73%. 3/4 of all abortions that kill black and Hispanic babies. Other national data for the Center for Bioethical Reform assert that black women are 3 times more likely to have an abortion than white women. So isn't it fascinating, that intersectional third-wave feminists fighting for abortion are so often seen arm in arm with Black Lives Matter? To any BLM members tucked away in the audience, I can conclusively say that feminists are the one group who do not believe that Black Lives Matter at all. Whether you believe in an immortal soul or not, babies are precious. You may not like some of the grim imagery associated with the anti-abortion movement, and you may find the pictures of dead babies carried by protesters and issued out to the audience this evening distasteful. That is the point. Abortion should be considered terrible. The left knows it, and that's why they do their best to make people think babies are just magical clumps of cells that magically become humans as soon as they exit the woman's body. They prey on vulnerable women who are pregnant, while at the same time brainwashing young people to praise abortion. I'd like to remind you that many of the great people in history were born as orphans or adopted. Julius Caesar, Bach, Steve Jobs, Aristotle, Louis Armstrong, Marilyn Monroe, John Lennon, Bill Clinton. Never mind. Well, I don't know. I mean, without him, we'd never have had Sick Hillary's campaign, so. I'd like to suggest to you, if you're in this room, and to the many thousands of people watching at home, Reject the cultural conditioning favoring abortion. Reject these extreme and bizarre contortions of language that the left likes to indulge in. Female reproductive health is a euphemism for something much worse, and it exists in the same category of expressions as final solution. You've already rejected so much. You've rejected campus rape epidemic mythology, gender pay gap lies, and conspiracy theories. I'm asking you to go a little further because common decency, morality, and Western civilization need you. There's been a huge resurgence in conservative and libertarian activism, thanks to Donald Trump, that culminated in his presidency. And I've been proud and happy to sort of not just document it, but give it a kick up the ass on college campuses too. This is a moment when if you have strongly held beliefs, you are finally able to express them. This is a moment in American culture that's very important. This window now that you have, and it's not just about abortion, but free speech in general, small state, any of the other things that you might believe in. You're right, most importantly, to be left the fuck alone and not be told that your hairstyle is racist and your language is sexist and the books you read are unhelpful. All this shit. This is a moment. This is a moment in culture where you can stand up and say, enough, no more, because you have demonstrated through voting for someone like Donald Trump, who many of us would not have imagined finding a plausible candidate for president even 3 months ago. Kidding. Somebody like Donald Trump, a very unexpected sort of candidate for president, you have demonstrated there are enough of you now. You have safety in numbers. If you believe that you should be left alone by progressives and social justice warriors and feminists and Black Lives Matter activists in the Democrat Party, if you believe that you know better than the government does how to look after yourself, what you should be allowed to say, where you should be allowed to go. If you believe in any of the principles that conservatives and libertarians have been forced to concede on and concede on and concede on because they were scared of being called racist, scared of being called sexist, scared of being called homophobic, scared of being called whatever, whatever, whatever. This is your moment now. This is a moment not just for you to take back the White House, which matters a bit, but more importantly for you to take back culture. Politics is downstream from culture. As the late Andrew Breitbart used to say, the guy who founded the website that I now work for, politics matters, but it is a symptom. The root cause is culture. And you must now go forward and take this opportunity that's been given to you, because it will not come around again. Fix academia. Show, with your purchasing decisions, that the entertainment industry and the news business cannot lie to and lie about you egregiously for decades without consequence. Go out there and be proud conservatives and libertarians, and do not ever again take someone else's word for how you should live your life, and do not ever again allow the social justice left to run this country and to run it into the ground. You as conservatives who believe in the Constitution, as libertarians who believe in freedom, you are uniquely situated now in a presidency that is just making the left's heads explode. They're totally consumed with Donald Trump. This is your moment. This is the time you fight back. This is the time you stop going to movies when they are egregiously pushing their politics on you, which I know you did with Ghostbusters. Vote with your feet, stand up, and remember to have fun, because there's nothing that authoritarians hate more than the sound of laughter, because they can't control it. They can't control what you find funny, and that scares them. And that's why they try. That's why they clamp down on humor first. That's why they go for the comedians. That's why Chris Rock and Jerry Seinfeld won't play on college campuses. Spineless cunts. It is precisely a comedian's job to push the envelope. When you call yourself a comedian, you can say almost anything, and people won't come for you, because you're seen as occupying a uniquely valuable space in culture. American comedians have totally and completely given up their responsibility to tell hard truths and to speak truth to power, because their side of the political argument now they are the powerful. That is the power. Well, you now have an opportunity, a very rare opportunity, a last gasp, last ditch window of a couple of years to take that power back. I encourage you to do it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to take some questions. I think Andrew's going to run to you with the microphone. Is that right? Yeah. Okay, put your hands up if you'd like to ask a question. Yes, you.